First of all, I just want to say that I'm not avoiding any questions. Somebody might put in a question and they might not get an answer for the first week or the second week or for the first 2 months. It doesn't mean I'm avoiding it, it just means that I didn't come out when I take out the papers in the box. The B'nai Hashem, every question that will be there, B'nai Neder will get the attention that it deserves. What is better, mikveh or tefillin past chatzos, and why? This question is not a precise question. Tefillin past chatzos is a different. There's no mitzvah. The mitzvah of tefillin meaning has no zmanim. Tefillin that should be done the entire day. Before chatzos and after chatzos is the same thing in regards to the mitzvah of tefillin. The question is regarding to the mitzvah of davening. Davening has to be done. There's something called zman tefillah. There's zman when davening has to be Shemona Esrei has to be said. And then there's chatzos, which before chatzos davening has to be complete. With the evidence that you can daven till chatzos. So b'peil mamish we put on tefillin when we daven. So therefore the Baruch is probably putting the two things together, but really they're two separate. It's not the same thing. So regarding the question mikveh or the daven before chatzos, the answer would be the pashtus that you should daven before chatzos. I assume the question is that let's say you're a half hour before chatzos right now, and either go to the mikveh and daven after chatzos, or daven now and then go to the mikveh later, or not go to the mikveh at all. So the answer is better daven now before chatzos and not go to the mikveh. This is pretty much everyone would say the same thing, because davening after chatzos, Shemona Esrei for Shacharis, according to simple halacha, is not okay at all. According to simple halacha, once chatzos is over, you're not allowed to daven Shacharis anymore. There are loopholes, there are ways of explaining it, but that's a loophole, that's not that direct. And mikveh is a minig of chassidim, and as important as it is, it's not much more important than halacha, and in this case definitely you should daven before chatzos and go to the mikveh afterwards. If you founded a company and it's successful and it brings in revenue for you while you relax on a beach somewhere, if this company brings in revenue for you on Shabbos, is it considered working? So the Baruch is asking a question specifically, is it considered working? So on Shabbos there are lametes velachos which you're not allowed to do. But then there are many other mitzvahs or yisurim on Shabbos which are not directly connected to the lametes velachos. So if you have a company that's working for you on Shabbos, so first of all, if there are Yidden working for the company, or Yidden that are buying things from the company, then there's a problem of Lismei Iver, a problem of telling you to do an Avera, and so on. But even if it's purely Goyim, everything is Goyim, there are a number of other issues. The question is it considered working on Shabbos? So you're not being over on the lametes melachos, you're not doing melachos on Shabbos, but it is forbidden for other reasons. It's forbidden for your work to do on Shabbos. It's forbidden because of, like I said, there's many different cheshbonos. There's Amir al-Nochri, there's Char Shabbos. You're not allowed, you can't have hanoah from something which is done on Shabbos. So even if somebody by mistake cooks for you something on Shabbos, you can't eat that food on Shabbos, even after Shabbos. So there are many details about of why it's not okay. But this question, the Baruch is asking in a funny kind of way, but the more practical way this question is asked is today, a lot of people sell things on Amazon and eBay, and over there their companies are open on Shabbos, and people can go in on Shabbos and buy from them, and over there the question is a lot stronger, because there are a lot of ways that the person puts in the order on Shabbos, but you'll only end up the sale will only happen after Shabbos, or the processing, the transaction will only happen after Shabbos. In that case, there's a lot more place to be lenient, and even that is more complicated, and it depends how your company is set up, when things are shipping, and so on. But even regularly, the answer is no, it's forbidden, but precisely it's not working, it's also because of other reasons.
If you own Walmart.
If you own Walmart.
No, I'm saying that.
It's a problem. If you own Walmart, then it's an issue. You have to have. It's kind of heter where you have a partner with you, and then the Goyisha partners, every all the years they have Goyisha partners for the trucking company whenever the trucks go on Shabbos. So it's kiviyachol that it's either partnered with Goyim or the Goyim mamish own it. But there's a lot of there's loopholes here as well, and the Afrum Yid would just shut everything on Shabbos and get it, and that's it. A lot of people do have some kind of heter, a Goyisha partner somewhat to make it work. If Gilguls are a thing, how can Tchias HaMesim work? It's the same neshama, just like 20 different people. How will they all come back to life if they are all the same person? So the question is not written in a chassidish way. The Baruch is asking if Gilguls are a thing. Gilguls are definitely a thing. It's a Dabri Yaduma. It's brought down all over Chassidus and Kabbalah. Gilguls is a true thing. We are all Gilgulim neshamas from different generations. But the question is a valid question, since Gilgulim are true. So if a neshama was in a body and then that person passed away, and then a neshama came down in the second body, so then when Mashiach comes, at Tchias HaMesim, where's the neshama going to come back to? The famous question brought down many Sfarim, and the Rebbe's answer is that every neshama has in itself, every neshama that comes down to this world, it has a certain shlichus. And the shlichus is, when it comes down a second time, it has another shlichus. Sometimes it's because the first time around it didn't fulfill its shlichus. Sometimes it's because it has another job kiviyachol what to do, however it works. So what happens is, when the neshama comes down the first time, let's say it fulfilled, it did Aleph Beis Gimel of a shlichus. Came the second time, it did Dalet Hey Vav and so on. So what happens is that the different parts of the neshama did different things when it was in different times that it came. And when the Rebbe explains it, when Mashiach comes, so the parts of the neshama that did the shlichus properly in the first body will go into that body, and the parts of the neshama that did the shlichus in the second body will come into the second body. So does that mean that the neshamas will be only partial neshamas? So the answer is no, because they're going to rebuild themselves from that neshama. In Salderech they say today you can have with DNA, they can take DNA of different creatures, and from that DNA they can rebuild a whole entire creature, whatever the original DNA was. Or in a whole different example, Mashiach comes and it comes to the body of the Tchias HaMesim Kipshute, they say it's brought down that Hashem will rebuild the bodies from the Etz and Luz. So each neshama has in itself kiviyachol its own DNA. So the parts of DNA that were fulfilled, that did their job in the first shlichus, in the first body, will go to that body, and then it'll rebuild itself and make it a complete neshama. But the rest of it, kiviyachol, will be artificial, but kiviyachol added to that particular body. And each body will get its own neshama, for the original neshama, the parts that it fulfilled the shlichus. Is it okay to wear shorts if you have two prosthetic legs? Very, very deep question. Baruch Hashem is not practical to any of us. The pastors, I don't see an issue. It's the question would be if the legs are today they make them really, really look like life looking. So if the Ramach looks a lot, if the pastors you can tell. If you can tell, it's not a problem at all. If you can't tell if they Mamish invested in the ones that really, really are life-looking, then it might be a shaila of marisayin. Maybe it doesn't look appropriate. That people might think that it's real, but
wear shorts.
Wearing shorts for our kehillah, it's also it's a problem of tznius. The rule in tznius is any parts of your body which are usually covered have to remain covered all the time. So in our chugim in Chabad, we don't know when we wear shorts. For me, you don't wear shorts. So therefore, for us, it's not okay. It's a problem of tznius to wear shorts. In other communities, in modern Orthodox communities, it's very common for them to wear shorts. So for them, it's not an issue. But this is where we are. So that it works by our minhagim, our thing. Today, you want to say there's Chabad-like communities that by them they also wear shorts. No, but that's if to choose where you're going to be. But the pastors, Chabad, it's a problem of tznius. And if this person has these kind of legs, it's hard to answer, but if you want to be machmir and find a reason why you be also, and the reason would be that it may be marasai, but if that's berov l'mais. No, I think I got it. The Tzom Gedalia fast. Okay, Ivanti. Tzom Gedalia is a fast. It's a fast day. So you do it that there are 6 fast days on the Yiddish calendar. The simon to remember. When I was in first grade, I was taught it. Black and white, long and short, he and she.
That's what my father told me.
Huh?
That's what my father told me.
Okay, maybe we're in the same class. Black and white, long and short, he and she. Black is Tisha B'Av, white is Yom Kippur, he is Tzom Gedalia, she is Tainis Esther, long is Shivasar B'Tammuz, and short is Asar B'Tevis. Long and short, so you have to remember them, but you don't get what? The long and short part? Shivasar B'Tammuz is a very, very long day. It's the longest days of the summer.
I don't get any.
Black, Tisha B'Av is a day of black. It's a morning. White is Yom Kippur, you wear white. Tzom Gedalia is a man, he, and Tainis Esther, the woman, is a she, and then long and short. Yeah? So Tzom Gedalia is definitely one of the fasts. However, according to Halacha, it's a fast that's more kal. It's a more lenient fast. Why is it a lenient fast? Because the reason why we fast on Tzom Gedalia is because after the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash, so Nebuchadnezzar appointed a Yid by the name of Gedalia ben Achikam. He told him he should take over the Yiddish community in Eretz Yisrael. He gave them the instructions. and Gedalia was going to Kiviyachol rebuild the Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael. They would not have to go into Golos. And then came along a wicked person by the name of Yishmael ben Who said that? And he went and he killed Gedalia, and therefore Nebuchadnezzar got very upset. The Emes, it says that Lavdafka would he really get upset about it. So since their last chance of survival was ruined, so in a sense it was another destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, because they might have been able to rebuild the Beis Hamikdash right then and there. So that wise it's considered another tremendous churban. However, that happened on Rosh Hashanah itself. But since on Rosh Hashanah we don't fast, so therefore we pushed off the fast until Tzom Gedalia. So since it's already pushed off, any fast that's pushed off automatically becomes less strict. So Tzom Gedalia, since by definition, the way it was originally established was a nitche, it's already more kal. So that's why it's more kal. Halacha, people that are sick, they can easily get a heter for Tzom Gedalia. In addition, another issue with Tzom Gedalia is that it's a week before Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a very important fast. It's the entirety of the Beis Hamikdash. The only fast that they would fast is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the holiest day. So therefore, people there was always a concern that if somebody fasted on Tzom Gedalia a week before Yom Kippur, it might make an extra week, and this way you won't be able to fast on Tzom Gedalia either, on Yom Kippur either. So that's why it was another reason to be more lenient on Tzom Gedalia. There's a Kabbalah amongst many Lubavitcher families that in Chabad, in Lubavitch, they were not makpid on Tzom Gedalia. Some people say it that nobody fasted on Tzom Gedalia. Some people say that they fasted, but only whoever was really strong and was able to. It's said in a different kind of ways. Again, there are a number of families. My grandfather went to the Rebbe's masker. When he went to the Rebbe's room on Tzom Gedalia one time, he was pale. And the Rebbe asked him, "Why are you pale?" So he told the Rebbe, "It's a fast day." And the Rebbe went to his hand like, it's like in other words, like the Rebbe didn't say clearly don't fast, but the Rebbe implied very strongly that there's no point in you fasting. And other Chassidim as well, the Gerari family also had a tradition like that. The Rebbe told them they don't have to fast. A proof for that is that it says, and we had in Yom a few days ago, that the Mittel Rebbe, when he heard the Klolis, when you don't have to fast, but Peel Mamish, we always fasted, and then there are people that are very makel in it, so if the Chatchila, you're meant to fast, that's what Pashtus. If you have a hard time, it's a lot easier, especially in Chabad, to go and find the heter. What's worse, being an atheist or believing in the wrong God? So, first of all, whenever questions of what's worse come up, we always say the example, what's worse, cutting off your arm or cutting off your leg? Which means to say that some Bachram are going to say, oh, you said that's worse, okay fine, so I'll do the other one, which is not so bad. Cutting off an arm and cutting off an Islam, if you try thinking about it, it's a hard decision to make. Because obviously, when you think about it for a long time, your decision is, okay fine, I'm not cutting off my arm, I'm not cutting off my leg, that's it. So that's to clarify. There's chesroinus in cutting off your arm, chesroinus in cutting off your leg. So there are chesroinus in being an atheist, and chesroinus in believing in the wrong God. To have a good answer to this question, look at the sikhs in the, I think it's Chelak Aleph or Chelak Gimel, if I guess. Chelak Aleph and Gimel, please. Parshas Kisiso. I don't remember, I think it's Aleph. I must say, the base Moshe Sifim. Anyone remembers Aleph and Gimel? It's doch Sham Levadi, go. Pretty sure it's Aleph, I'm not wrong. Aleph? Aleph. So in Chelak Aleph with the Sikhs, there's a long Sikh of the Rebbe talks about it. Yeah?
You probably asked who is it easier to argue?
Oh, that wasn't the question. That's what's worse. So the Rebbe over there talks about that Eliyahu Navi by the story of Hara Carmel, that the Yidden at that time were worshipping idols, and Eliyahu Navi told them, till when are you guys going to worship Eibishter and Avodah Zarah? Make up your mind, and the Pasuk says, if the Eibishter is the Eibishter, follow him, and if it's Avodah Zarah, then follow Avodah Zarah. Very, very scary kind of thought. Okay, Eliyahu Navi is telling them, you want to go do Avodah Zarah? So the Rebbe explains over there in the Sikha why, in a certain sense, someone that's Pesach Hashtiyah Seifim is worse than Avodah Zarah. It's not the same question over here. Pesach Hashtiyah Seifim means he believes in Hashem and Avodah Zarah, and here we're talking about someone that's either only Avodah Zarah. But over there in that Sikha you can learn, you can notice that the Rebbe explains that when someone believes in Hashem and Avodah Zarah, so then in a certain sense it's worse than plain Avodah Zarah. So, the chesed in the atheist is that he doesn't believe any kind of ruchnistic thing at all. any kind of spirituality, doesn't believe it. Whether it's Eibusher or Lahavdin or anything else, he has no shaykhs to Dvarim Ruchni. The problem in the person that believes in the wrong God is that he has a shaykhs to Ruchnis. He believes in some kind of Ruchnis little thing. He has it in the wrong place, but he believes in an element of spirituality. So therefore, there's in a sense, there's a mila in the person that's believing in the wrong God, because this person, he believes in something ruchni. So as long as you'll direct him in the right place, so you'll be able to see, so he'll somehow realize that the Eibishter is the true spirituality, the true Eibishter, and he'll turn to him. Versus the atheist, by him there's nothing at all. On the other hand, a person that's an atheist, a person that believes in the wrong God, it's a very big lack of seichel, because how can you think in these kind of things? How can you really deny that there's how can you believe that there's a getchker or stuff like that? Mashenki, the person that's an atheist, is kivyochel using a seichel, and that based on seichel, he's coming to his decisions. So you work with seichel. So you can argue about that as well, but upon him, the Nekudas Advarim is that there is a chesroinus in each one of them. And to more information, look at that sikha. It won't directly address the question, but it'll give you a lot of food for thought. There's three questions here connected to one another. One is, can we have a mitzvah for Elul? Another is, we need a mitzvah. And then there's, could we go to Yellowstone National Park for the sikhs with the sikhs mitzvah? Please, aval be'emet. So, regarding mitzvahs in yeshivas, I just want to say, when I was a bacher, there was no such thing as a mitzvah in a yeshiva. You came to the yeshiva, and you had seder at yeshiva, and you learned. And after seder, you learned more. The bachim that were more involved in learning learned more. The bachim that didn't learn, the were not involved in learning learned less. But there was no such thing as a mitzvah. The only mitzvah, if anything, was to say the sichas and shir gul Mashiach, and the whole mitzvah was, if you come, you get a cup of soda. I was in Israeli yeshiva, but everything's very mitzumtzum, so it's to go around with a cup of soda and make sure everyone gets the same amount to the line, and the biggest habit you can do is steal another cup of soda. But there was no mitzvahs, no prizes, no getting anything for it. As I was getting into later into Zal, that's when they started the big mitzvahs. If you finish up with Safta Balpeh, you go to Russia, to the Kvarim, they started making bigger things. And the reason why there were no mitzvahs or pashas is because a bacher comes to yeshiva, he has to do the right thing. You're not a baby anymore. You don't need prizes and incentives. You do what you have to do, and that's it. And Pe'el Mamish, the past, I would say 20 years already, it became a normal thing. Every single yeshiva has mitzvahs. Everyone is trying to give incentives and prizes to make the bacher do more. So the bacher that's saying we need a mitzvah, just to point out, you don't really need a mitzvah. You really want a mitzvah, which if you're being honest with the words, you mean to say is I want to do well, but I want an incentive, I want some kind of prize to push me even more. And that's the point of a mitzvah always is you can't offer, the people making mitzvahs know the rules, you can't make a prize that doesn't make sense for what they're doing. To say that whoever learns chitas is going to end up, we're going to take him to Lubavitch, to visit the Kvarim, that doesn't make sense. The doing chitas is a basic thing, and even though it might be a little bit hard for some people, but to promise them such a huge trip doesn't make sense. And obviously if you're going to say, make a mitzvah that whoever learns the whole Masechta Balpeh, he's going to get a Abayim Chitas with his name on it, so that's also not going to work, because it's not going to be an incentive. The way a mitzvah is ideally supposed to work is that you do something, and based on what you do, so you get a little bit of a push, not too much, not too little. So going to Yellowstone National Park is a huge headache. It's a far trip from here, and the arrangements and the details is a very big deal. So to do that, the mitzvah will have to be very, very hard, and the mela we probably won't pass anyway. So it's not going to. So regarding that. Regarding mitzvahs for Elul, so Bechlal, all the mitzvahs are things that B'derech Klal the Shluchim do, like all the yeshivas always. Sometimes, since it became such a popular thing, many on Holos will also sometimes do mitzvahs as well. For example, mitzvah Torah became an established thing that on Holos do that, and pretty much all the yeshivas, on Holos the one that at least sponsors the mitzvah Torah. In some yeshivas, the Shluchim are still in charge of it, but on Holos sponsors it. In some yeshivas, but the Anhol make other mitzvahs, but the Derech Klal, the Shluchim are the ones that are usually make the mitzvahs. So right now we have regarding the questions, we're not making any an additional mitzvah for Chodesh Elul besides the general mitzvah Torah. If you want an extra mitzvah, so you can go over to the Shluchim and ask them if they're interested in making more mitzvahs. Again, the Derech Klal is not what Anhol does. Once in a while, Anhol gets involved. Right now, the mitzvah that we did last year with the sichas and teisvus and all that, as of now, we're not doing it again for next year. If you want to speak to the shluch, if they're interested in arranging it, other. Another question here, can we get time after Hasidus, like last year, to go to mikveh? Because I can't wake up so early. So this is an individual question. The Bachar is asking to come over in an individual kind of way. The Seder we have this year is for many, many reasons. And so there is a time. Last year there was a very big break between Hasidus and Shabbos for time to go to the mikveh. But this year we took it away, like I said, for many reasons. So if a Bachar really wants to go to the mikveh and it's too hard to wake up extra early, he should come over to Ahala, and we can try to make a special exception maybe for that individual Bachar. Either you can come a few minutes late to Seder, or you can leave a few minutes earlier. But as a general rule, we're going to keep the Seder the same way. And finally we see that the benefits outweigh a lot the Chesroinus, and therefore we're keeping it like that. And Bechlal, it's kedai to train yourself to wake up earlier. Many yeshivas, not in Lubavitch, but not Lubavitch yeshivas, it's a normal thing to have to wake up at 5:30, it's 6 o'clock. And to wake up, to be here on time for 7:30 after mikveh, Zachakli, you wake up at 7 o'clock, 6:45, it's not such a big deal. No, it's not going to happen because, look, sure, no one's going late today because of the mikveh. Two guys that go to mikveh and they come late because of that, it's not going to change anything. Can you please give the monster share on another Gula Mashiach? The master. We have a share on there's a medish that we teach every other year on monsters when Mashiach comes. But when whoever arranges share Gula Mashiach can come over, and we'll see when we have time to do it. But yeah, the answer is yes. I'm ready to do it. Just tell me the right time, and it works with my schedule. 3 questions that are connected. What do you think of Biden, being president of the USA? Is Trump racist? What's the Rebbe's approach of voting, especially for Trump and Bibi Shlita? First of all, I don't know politics too much. I know that today the Frumme Welt is very much against Biden and very much pro-Trump. I don't really know anything about it. I was told that Biden has Jewish Einaklach. All of his children marry Jews. So he has a son that married a Jewish woman, so he has Jewish Einaklach. And his daughter also married a Jewish guy, obviously the two kids are not Jewish. And Kitzur Amaisa and his vice president that he's running with, her husband is Jewish also. The Kitzur, so and the whole Yimach Shemei V'Zichra, just because you follow politics and you have an opinion, it's I don't follow politics, and whatever the little bit that I hear here and there, I know that no one knows what they're talking about. So just to say that because Trump for sure was nice to the Yidden, that we know in our community, he helped out the Rabashkins, and Yisrael helped out, so that's for sure a good thing. Is he a racist? I don't know. I don't follow these things. And I made it back to the Ikka question, which is, what's the Rebbe's approach of voting? And it's regardless of who. The Rebbe's approach for voting is that a Bacha should have no idea about all these things. A Bacha is not meant to know anything about Trump or Biden, anything of the like. A Bacha should not know who's the president, who's the vice president, when elections are happening. That's the Rebbe's approach. There's a sefer called the Rebbe, that's the Rebbe's Kinder. It's a blue book. We have it also in English over here. And the Rebbe over there speaks very, very negatively about Bachim that follow the news, whether it's on the radio or the newspapers. Today it's on the internet, obviously, with the same concept. The Rebbe is very against Bachim should not know these kind of things. The Rebbe is a story. There's a chassid that thinks that the Rebbe the Radoker, we are mixing up, that in Russia, so there was the communist revolution. So there was the Tsar, the Tsar dynasty ruled Russia for many years, and then there was a revolution, and then the communists took over. So 10 years after the revolution, there was a Fabrengen at Temchet Mimim, and one of the Chassidim over there was giving a dugma, was giving an example. Says, for example, the Tsar, and he didn't know that there was a revolution and the Tsar is dead already. He was so not involved in the world. So for us, Ravachim today to such a level, not to have any idea, I think it's a very big deal. Every vote is very important, and therefore the Rebbe wants whoever shaykh is to vote. However, it has to be done the way it should be is that you are of age that you can vote. So the day before voting, not the day before voting, right when you're ready to vote, right before that, you call up your mashpia, and you ask mashpia, who should I vote for? Whatever he tells you to do, that's what you do, and before and after, you don't think about it for a moment. That's the ideal, the way it's supposed to be. If you're a balabos and you have opinions already, it's eitzach. But that's the way it's supposed to be. Here's the community imposed. Whenever there's elections, there's a certain person here in the community that's very involved in the politics, and he sends out a message to the community that for our community, ploini and ploini is better to vote for, meaning in the city council, things like that. And he tells us what to do, and that's what most Eden over here, that's what we follow. When it comes to the bigger elections, the president, the chulu, then many people have their own opinions for states. But the ideal, this is the way it's supposed to be. If you could vote, you should vote also all not in Seder. If I'm not mistaken, there's a story that Rebbe once said it was once election day. I think the Rebbe himself went to vote. That's why I don't know if the story is true, but I think it's the Meister, and the Rebbe saw Bach from there. It was middle of Seder. The Rebbe said, "Why are you guys here?" Even though the Rebbe said they should vote, but it has to be not in Seder.
Wait, what makes someone a balaka?
Huh?
What makes someone a balaka?
When you become a balaka?
You know when you're there.
No.
Are you a good man? Are you a good man? And until you're not a good man, you shouldn't be all these things at all.
You can be a younger man when you're 6 foot.
Huh? Your man means in your man. That's what your man. And you're a bracha, then you can never go. You can never help out. Huh?
Wait, you talk about
That's good.
Huh?
You talk about
Same thing. Any kind of politics. Israeli, American, what's that? Why can't we shave our beards? The simple answer is that Hashem said so. Hashem said you can't shave your beard. So about trimming, so it's a very big discussion. But in short, if shaving your beard it depends which kind of razor is used. A razor which touches the skin is an Isser Deiraisa, and it's also mamish. There's no heter whatsoever. If just trimming the beard, or if there's a type of razor which does not touch the skin, which they have a special kind of razor where it pulls out the hair and cuts, and then it doesn't touch the skin. It's obviously a fine technology, but what happens is that it pulls and cuts and it lets it fall back and yachal inside. So that kind of razor, those kind of shavers, is a big machlokes. According to the simple Shulchan Aruch, it is permitted. According to the Tzemach Tzedek, and this is forgetting the Rav Chassidim, not only is it also, it's an Isser Deiraisa. It's Isser Deiraisa to shave, and it's not included in the Isser of L'Sashkis Paskanacha, it's included in the Isser of L'Ilgash Gever Simlas Isha. This is a halacha that a man is not to get dressed up like a woman, and the Tzemach Tzedek has a very long tshuva on it, and the Tzemach Tzedek says that it's brought down that if somebody has white hair, and he wants to pull out his white hairs because he wants to look younger, so the halacha is that it's an Isser of L'Ilgash Gever Simlas Isha. Any kind of act that you're doing to make yourself look younger is considered Isser of L'Yilbash. And therefore, shaving a beard is considered a pa'ula of making yourself look younger, and therefore it's an Isser Deiraisa. The Tzemach Tzedek has a very long tshuva about it, and that includes trimming and shaving. That will be included in that Isser.
When you trim your beard, you get a white beard.
Huh? So if it's trimming with a beard, then it is makim lahakil, even according to the Tzemach Tzedek. But the Pashas, this is where the whole Isser comes. Another Inyan is this is all al pi nikla, al pi kabbalah. Al pi kabbalah, the way it works is that beards bring on Amshacha. Right now we're now Chay Shelu. Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. So it's brought down that the beard is connected to Gimel Tikunei Dikna, and when a person has a beard, it brings down more and more Amshacha. It even says that they were tzaddikim, that when they would learn, they would actually stroke their beard in order to understand better. So it says that Baba Sali was a tremendous tzaddik. He had a very, very small beard. So the Baba Sali, it says that sometimes you had a person with a big beard, so you would stroke the big person's beard for himself to bring down the Amshachas of Yud Midas Harachamim. Of course, it sounds funny, but this is a real tzaddik. It's not people like us. It's a real tzaddik that he was actually bringing down Amshachas of Yud Midas Harachamim. So there's a tremendous hamshacha and bracha from it. There are people that they spoke the letters of the Rebbe, or people ask me, and they want to shave their beard because they want to get a better job, they want to be more successful. And the Rebbe is laughing, and the Rebbe is saying, you want to be more successful, get more bracha, so you're shaving off your cleaver parnasa. It's like a person wants to get a job, and he doesn't go for the interview. If you want to have more bracha, you have to have a beard, because the bigger beard you have, the more hamshacha you have. There's a kid in Cincinnati that he wanted to become he is a Baruch Hashem, a doctor. And at the beginning, when he was trying to going to medical school, so he was becoming through a local shliach in Cincinnati, and he was growing a beard. And his parents said, "We're okay with the beard as long as he starts it after he gets accepted to medical school, because he has to be accepted first." And it was a big milchama, and Baruch Hashem, he was poiled that at the end he went there with his beard, and he was accepted. And Baruch Hashem, he's very masliach today. He's a very chashuv doctor. So with the beard, he got all the brachas and hamshachas. And that's how people put him in why we cannot shave our beards.